Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Luke Ness Monster, and today we're going to be ranking every single Black Series Imperial Stormtrooper from worst to first. Now, a few quick disclaimers. This does not include like Imperial officers at all, just Stormtroopers. But it does include like heroes in disguise, so like a Luke in a Stormtrooper outfit. It will include because you can just throw the helmet on and it's a standard Stormtrooper. I did make one of these lists back in like 2020, so if you do want to check that out and see how the list has changed, make sure to do that. It'll be pinned in the card and linked in the description. But without further ado, there are 71 Stormtroopers on the list, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Coming in at the number 71 and 70 spot, I gave it to what I personally think are the two worst Black Series Stormtroopers we have in the line, and that is the Carbonized Shore Trooper and Carbonized Scout Trooper. In my opinion, both of these really suck. I think the deviation to the Galaxy style packaging with these figures completely messes up the style of Carbonized, because before, the packaging matched the figure, and so there was a nice theme, it was good for displayability, but now the box doesn't match the figure, and both of these figures just look really crappy, and I do think the carbonized paint job does not help at all. So these are two of the easiest worst figures in the line. Coming in from the 69 to the 63 spot, I gave it to the Black Series Holiday Troopers. These ones are not good in my opinion. I think there's some that are alright. I do really like the Nutcracker Purge Trooper, same with the Snowman Snowtrooper. I think those are really cool, but they're just not really my cup of tea. I think they serve a good purpose, and I really am happy for the people that like them, but they're just not really what I'm into, and so they're pretty low on my list. But at the end of the day, you should collect what you enjoy, and if you like the holiday figures, there is no reason why you shouldn't go out and buy them. Coming in at the 62 to 60 spot, I gave it to the three original Purge Troopers that we have in the line here, or the Phase 1 Purge Troopers, whatever you want to call them. I really love the Purge Trooper design, especially from Fallen Order, but the problem is these figures are on the original clone body back from 2013, and they really suck. The articulation is horrible, the legs warp, you can barely hold the gun in a natural position, and because of that, all three of these figures are pretty low on the list. Now, if these were on the updated clone body, these would be very high on the list because I love the designs, but I just can't get past the horrible articulation and the pretty poor posing ability that comes out of them. Coming in at the number 59 spot, I gave it to the Carbonized Stormtrooper. This one is okay. There's definitely better in the Carbonized line, but I do really like the fact that the box actually matches the figure. That's one of the perks of the red box Carbonized line. It came out pretty good, but there's definitely better in the line, and I think there's a lot better Stormtroopers in the line. So this one's pretty low on the list, but I don't think it's bad by any means. Coming in at the number 58 spot is the Crimson Stormtrooper, a part of the Entertainment Earth 4-pack. This one is pretty cool. It's an all-red Stormtrooper, which I think is a really cool idea. It's not really canon anywhere, though, and so because of that, it's a little bit lower on my list, but I still think it's pretty cool looking, and I do recommend if you don't have it. Coming in at the number 57 spot is the Imperial Senate Guard from The Force Unleashed, and this is a trooper design that I absolutely love. The problem is, the figure itself is super inaccurate. In the game, he has a lot of Stormtrooper armor bits, whereas with the figure, they just completely repainted the Imperial Guard and took off the cloak, and I think it looks really bad. If it was the accurate pieces, it would be a whole lot higher up on this list, because I love the design for it, but like I said, it's inaccurate, and so it's pretty low on the list. Coming in at the number 56 spot, I gave it to Kirkanos, also known as Conar Jax, just because they got the name wrong on the box. But I really like this figure. It's a cool design for a Senate Guard or a Royal Guard. I really like the design. I love the purple metallic cape, but I just really have a hard time finding a good place where he fits into my collection and on the shelf. So he's pretty low on my list, but I do love the figure, and I know a lot of Legends fans do really love this figure as well. Coming in at the number 55 and 54 spot, it is the Hover Tank Driver and the AT-ACT Driver. Both are pretty cool looking Stormtroopers with cool designs. We just don't really see them that much in the movie, and I do think that we got a lot cooler designs out of Rogue One, kind of like the Shore Trooper and the Death Trooper, so these two are pretty low on the list for me. Coming in at the number 53 and 52 spot, I gave it to both Migs Mayfeld and Din Djarin in their Stormtrooper disguises. I do really like these Stormtrooper outfits, these kind of tank drivers. I think they look pretty dang cool, and these are just kind of low on the list because they reuse each other's bodies. They've got pinned legs, and I do think that we've gotten better versions of both Din Djarin and Migs Mayfeld as other figures, so they're a little bit lower on the list, but I do think that they're really cool looking troopers, and I think it's great just to buy these and throw the helmet on to have a kind of tank driver trooper in your collection. Coming in at the number 51 and 50 spot, I gave it to the two versions of the Jump Trooper we have in the line. The one on the left is the version from Rebels, which does have a little bits of orange paint on it, and the one on the right is from Battlefront 2. I do think these are both great figures. I do think I like the one on the left just a little bit better though because of the nice splashes of color. The one on the right from Battlefront is just a little bit colorless when it doesn't have those orange paint apps on it, so I do like the Rebels version a little bit better. At the 49 through 47 spot, we have the three variations of the TIE Fighter pilot, with the standard TIE Fighter pilot in the middle, the Entertainment Earth exclusive with the silver stripe on the helmet on the far left, and we have the Inferno Squad agent on the right. All three of these are pretty solid. I do like the mold for the TIE Fighter pilot, but the biggest problem is he has trouble standing up. He wants to tip over, he wants to fall over. He always knocks over all the other Stormtroopers on my shelf, and maybe this is just a me problem, but I have had this problem quite a bit, and so he is a little bit lower on the list, but I do think the mold is great and it's one of my favorite Stormtrooper designs. Coming in at the number 46 through 44 spot, I gave it to the three variants of Han and Luke that we have in their Stormtrooper disguises. I do think that the original blue line Han and Luke are pretty good, but the face sculpts are pretty bad and they're a little outdated. But there was a red box re-release of Luke where he has updated weathering as well as the slicked back wet hair from after he gets pulled into the trash compactor, and I think this is really cool. They didn't have to do this variant of Luke, and I'm glad they decided to do it because I think it looks really dang good. And of course, the updated face sculpt is a lot better than that original blue line version. Coming in at the number 43 spot, I put these two figures together because essentially they're the same thing with just slightly different paint decos, but we do have the Stormtrooper with blast effects. The one on the left is from the GameStop exclusive deluxe set, and the one on the right is from the Amazon exclusive 4-pack, and essentially these are two different troopers with scorch marks and blast marks on them, which I think on the surface is kind of a stupid idea just because they're dead Stormtroopers essentially, and so I'm not a huge fan of the whole idea, but I do get a lot of nostalgia from these figures just because of the video game Battlefront 2015, because when you would play as Stormtroopers in the multiplayer, every time you'd get shot and die, you'd get a scorch mark on your armor whenever you'd respawn. So by the end of the game, your armor would look something like that with singe marks and blaster marks all over it. And so I think there's a little bit of nostalgia there for me, but overall, as far as displayability on the shelf goes, it's not great because it's a dead Stormtrooper. The number 42 spot goes to just the standard original mold for the Stormtrooper. This one is a really good mold for when it came out back in 2013, but we've just gotten better Stormtroopers since then with the 2020 mold. And so because of that, I do think it looks great. It's a nice, plain, clean white Stormtrooper, but it's definitely a little bit towards the middle of the list. And again, that just comes down to the fact that we've gotten better in the line and there's much more improved Stormtroopers we've gotten. Coming in at the number 41 spot, I give it to the Range Trooper. Now, the Range Trooper hasn't always been my favorite design for Stormtrooper, but over the last 2 years, it's really grown on me, and honestly, I think I like it a whole lot more now than I did when this first list came out, so it's definitely a lot higher on the list. It's still not my favorite, but I think it's pretty cool looking, and I can really appreciate the design here, so overall, I think it's pretty good. Coming in at the number 40 spot, this one was pretty tough to decide if I wanted to put him on the list or not, because I'm not doing Imperial officers, but this one's not really a Stormtrooper either, but I decided to give the Death Star Trooper the number 40 spot, just because it has Trooper in the name. I think he looks great, I love the cool helmet, so at that point I decided to call him a Trooper, and overall I think he's a pretty cool figure. Coming in at the number 39 spot is actually Mimban Han Solo. This one is pretty close to like the Din Djarin or the Migs Mayfeld body, but it does have a different helmet, and of course it does have the Han Solo head on top. But I do like the fact that you can pretty much just put on the helmet and it looks like a completely normal Stormtrooper. And I do love the design for this trooper. It's kind of got this like gas mask, Fallout kind of aesthetic to it, and I really love the design for that. And so I think he definitely deserves this number 39 spot. At the 38 and 37 spot, both of these figures kind of skate the line between Stormtrooper and Imperial Officer, but it's my list, and so I really wanted to include them because I like both figures. And first up at number 38, I gave it to Cassian Andor Aldhani mission. This one is pretty similar to an Officer. He's got an Officer hat, but I really like the design for it, and I think you can really just put this in the background of your Imperial shelf, and it's going to look great. After that, at the number 37 spot is the Ferrix Officer, and again, it has Officer in the name, but they kind of act like Stormtroopers. You got a big battalion of them. They have helmets, they have goggles, and so I decided to put it on the list, and I really like the design for it. We do get to see a lot of them in the Andor show, and so I decided to put both these on the list, and I do think they deserve their number 38 and 37 spots. Coming in at the number 36 spot is the Imperial Patrol Trooper. This is another figure from Solo that I think is really, really underrated. I love the design for it. I love the unique helmet. I think it looks really good overall, and I do think it's really underrated as far as like trooper designs go. And so I definitely think he deserves the 36 spot, or maybe even a little higher. Coming in at the number 35 spot, I gave it to the AT-AT driver. Overall, I think this is a pretty classic suit when it comes to Empire Strikes Back. Cool trooper design, cool colors, and I do love the moon boots as well. Overall, this one is, I think, underrated as well. Coming in at the number 34 spot is the Remnant Stormtrooper from The Mandalorian. Normally, I've kind of thought this figure was kind of bad, but recently I've really started to like it, and it's jumped up a whole lot more on my list. I believe he was almost dead last in one of my original lists, but I really, really like how this figure has aged, and overall I think the weathering is definitely looking a lot better the more that I look at it, and so next year it'll probably be a whole lot higher on my list, but right now it sits at the 34 spot. Coming in at the number 33 spot is the Flame Trooper from Jedi Fallen Order, another figure that I think is really underrated. I love the design, it's definitely snowtrooper-esque, and I think it looks really dang cool. Only problem is I wish it came with the flame effect to go with it, but that is kind of a minor thing because I think overall it looks great. Coming in at the number 32 spot is definitely a controversial pick, but I gave it to the Carbonized 2-pack from Return of the Jedi with the Royal Guard and the TIE Pilot. Again, I know a lot of people don't like the Carbonized line, but I absolutely love this 2-pack. This is what the Carbonized line is supposed to be. It's supposed to be carbonized figures that match the packaging, and I think Throwback Return of the Jedi card backs is exactly what the Carbonized line needed. They've always done in-box before, and I've never really done card backs until now, and I think this was a great step in the right direction for the Carbonized line, and then unfortunately they've not done any since, so I'd love to see more kind of card back throwbacks like this rather than the Galaxy style packaging, which just does not work for Carbonized line. Coming in at the number 31 spot is the Snowtrooper from Empire Strikes Back, and I gotta say, this is one of my favorite Stormtrooper designs of all time. I absolutely love it. I don't think the mold for this Black Series figure is super impressive. I think it still holds up to today's standards, but, you know, it's got pinned legs and the elbow articulation's a little bit mid. It could definitely use an update, but I think for what it is, it looks amazing, and I just love that Stormtrooper design for the Snowtrooper, so I can't complain too much, and I do really like it. Next up at the 30 and 29 spot, we do have the standard Imperial Royal Guard, and we have the Shadow Royal Guard. Both are pretty cool looking figures, and I do really like the design for both of them. I think the red design is pretty classic to Return of the Jedi, and it's going to look great next to your Emperor Palpatine figure. And of course, I do think the black Shadow version is just a cooler black version of the red one. And of course, it's going to look great next to your Starkiller, as it is kind of based off of The Force Unleashed. Coming in at the number 28 and 27 spot, I gave it to the two versions of the Death Trooper we have in the line. We do have the standard version and the Death Trooper Commander, which has the pauldron and the ammo pouch. Both of these look really dang cool. I do like the Death Trooper a lot. I love the design for it. I do think that the articulation still holds up to today's standards, but I would not complain if we got a new version because we could always use figures like this updated with that modern articulation. So I really like these two figures, and I definitely like the one with the pauldron just a little bit better. Coming in at the number 26 to 24 spot, we do have the three variants of the Shore Trooper we have in the line, with the standard Shore Trooper, the version from Andor, and the Shore Trooper Captain. All three are very similar molds, but with a little bit different here and there, like the Shore Trooper does have this comma. But as far as paint apps go, all three of these are completely different, and I do think the Shore Trooper Captain really takes in the best paint apps just because it has those splashes of blue on the armor, which I do really, really like. Coming in at the number 23 and 22 spot, we do have the two figures from the Imperial Shadow Squadron 2-pack. I absolutely love both these figures just because they're blacked out Stormtroopers. I mean, the blacked out Scout Trooper and the Stormtrooper, they look incredible, and I just really love the idea of this. And of course, I do actually love that bike it comes with too. Overall, I think it's a great set, and I do wish it would come down in price just a little bit because it is a little bit pricey on the aftermarket. Coming in at the number 20 and 21 spot, we actually gave it to the two Scout Troopers in the line, this being the Standard Scout Trooper and the Remnant Scout Trooper. I love both of these figures. The Remnant has a ton of really good weathering, but the Standard one is really classic to Return of the Jedi. Both of the molds are pretty dated. They go back to like 2014, 2015, but both of the molds hold up to today's standards, and they're really, really good overall. Coming in at the 19 to 16 spots, we have the four variations of the Sand Trooper that we have in the line. All four here are pretty solid, but I do think I like the version on the dewback the most. Then of course it's the standard orange pauldron Sand Trooper, then the Entertainment Earth white pauldron, and then last is going to be the black pauldron version. But all four of these figures are really, really good. The weathering is great. I love the look with the pauldron and the heavy weapons. Overall, I think all four of these are really amazing Black Series Stormtroopers that we have here in the line. Coming in at the number 15 spot, I gave it to the Imperial Shock Trooper. This is another one that I might just have a lot of nostalgia for Battlefront 2015, but I really love the design for this guy. I do think that I would love an upgraded version on the new 2020 Stormtrooper body, but for the most part it still holds up to today, and I really do love that paint job a lot, so this one easily deserves to be in the top 15 for me. At the 14 and 13 spot, we have the two versions of the Scout Trooper from the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor games here. These are basically the exact same figure with some minor paint apps differences, but the big difference is the version from Jedi Survivor has the Riot Shield, which I think is excellent. It looks amazing, and it is just a little extra piece here for the exact same price, so I do like both. I think I like the original Gaming Greats packaging better, but overall, I think that they're both really good figures, and they're both, I think, the best version of Scout Troopers that we've gotten in the line so far. Coming in at the number 12 spot, I gave it to the Mimban Stormtrooper. This one is again on that original Stormtrooper body, but it's got this really cool gray camo color. It's got a cool soft goods cape, and it's also got some really good muddy weathering on the figure. I think overall it's a really, really cool design for a Stormtrooper, and it's definitely got to be one of the best paint apps we've ever gotten on a Stormtrooper as well. I really love how this one came out. Coming in at the number 11 and 10 spot, I gave it to the two members of Scar Squadron. Both have some super nice, unique sculpting that makes them unique to their own characters, and plus they are on that base 2020 Stormtrooper body, so you already know the articulation and the sculpting is going to be really dang good. I really do love the accessories, like the lightsaber for Sergeant Krill is super cool. He's a Stormtrooper with a lightsaber, that's awesome. And of course, the blue eyes and the jetpack on Mike is just really super cool, and it's something that we don't get to see a lot on Stormtroopers, and it's one reason why I do really love these figures, so these are easily going to be in the top 10 for me. I really like them. Coming in at the number 9 spot, I gave it to the Stormtrooper Commander from The Force Unleashed. This is probably another nostalgia pick for me because I absolutely love the design for this figure. I think the blue paint details are great, as well as the weathering. This is another one where the weathering is really, really good on this figure. Overall, I think that combined with the actual original Gaming Grades box where they changed the color, I love that this box is a blue color to match the figure. Overall, all that together added up really makes this one of the best Stormtroopers we've ever gotten in the line, in my opinion. Coming in at the number 8 might be a little bit of a controversial pick, but I gave it to the Phase 2 Purge Trooper. This is one of my all-time favorite designs for Stormtroopers. I love the nice, unique helmet with that red lens. It's super vibrant, and it pops really well. It really matches all the other red accents on the figure, and overall, I think it's a really nice, intimidating black and red combo. And plus, it is on that 2020 Clone Trooper body, so it's got really great articulation. Overall, I'm really, really digging this figure, and I know it's not everybody's favorite, but it's one of mine. Next up, at the number 7 spot, I gave it to the Rocket Launcher Trooper, part of the Gaming Greats line. Also from Jedi Fallen Order, this one is another one of my favorite Trooper designs. I'm a big fan of just the plain white Trooper with the red pauldron. Maybe this goes back to my Battlefront 2015 nostalgia, but I absolutely love that design, and plus it comes with a giant rocket launcher. I think the sculpting on this thing is amazing, and worst case scenario, if you don't like the red pauldron and you don't like the rocket launcher, you can pop all of it off and you'll just have a basic Stormtrooper. So I think overall it is a win-win. Coming in at the number 6 spot, I gave it to the Dark Trooper from The Mandalorian. This one really surprised me when it came out, but it's this really nice, shiny, glossy armor on this Dark Trooper, and there's tons of detail and sculpting that goes into it, as well as nice, silver paint apps on all the gears and the joints. It just looks really dang cool, and there's a lot of detail that went into this figure that I think a lot of people don't really even notice, but overall, it's an amazing figure. It's pretty much a work of art, and I think it definitely deserves that number 6 spot. Coming in at the number 5 spot, I gave it to the Artillery Stormtrooper. This thing, also known as the Mortar Trooper, is pretty dang cool. It is on that 2020 Stormtrooper body, so the articulation and the sculpt work is incredible, but he also comes with a ton of accessories. He does come with the mortar itself, as well as 4 mortar rounds with a backpack that stores all 4 of those rounds, and of course he does come with the standard Imperial blaster, so pretty solid figure overall, and I do dig the yellow color scheme on this guy, especially with that yellow pauldron. I think he looks incredible. Coming in at the number 4 spot is the Incinerator Trooper, which is essentially the exact same design as the Mortar Trooper, but in this dark red color rather than yellow, and I think that looks a whole lot better than the yellow. It looks really, really dang good. He does have that flamethrower and backpack as well, which looks incredible, and of course, you cannot forget the flamethrower effect piece that comes with this guy. This is what really sells this figure for me. I think it looks amazing, and it's something that I wish all kind of flamethrower troopers would come with, is some kind of flame effect, and it's something that the Fallen Order Flame Trooper doesn't come with, and so that's one reason why I think this one is really, really amazing. Coming in at the number 3 spot is the 2020 Stormtrooper sculpt, and the various re-releases it's had. It's been released in Return of the Jedi packaging, Mandalorian packaging, even released as George Lucas here, which is slightly different, but of course you throw the helmet on and it's the exact same figure. So I wanted to kind of bunch it all into this number 3 2020 sculpt spot. And I know I've talked about the 2020 sculpt before, but it is leaps and bounds better than the original Stormtrooper sculpt. The articulation and proportions are so much more accurate, just as well as the advancements in technology since then. It's got the single jointed pinless look, and it's even got butterfly joints and loose overlays. Really, they went all out on this figure, and it's one of my favorite Black Series Stormtroopers of all time. Coming in at the number 2 spot, I had to give it to the Shadow Trooper from The Force Unleashed. This is one of my favorite designs of all time for a Stormtrooper, and so it's a real shame that it's on that original Stormtrooper body, because it definitely suffers from the poor articulation and the pinned look all the way around. But nevertheless, I still think the design is so good, I had to put it at number 2. I really love that gunmetal gray color with the blue accents. It's super sharp, super clean, and they even molded a lot of the pieces in this translucent blue, and so you can kind of get a little bit of a transparent, like, see-through look, which is great for the Shadow Trooper because it goes invisible. And it's just little details like that that I think really make figures like this pop and shine, and this is one of my favorite figures of all time, and I had to put it at number 2 on the list. I know that's a little bit controversial and maybe a little bit high, but I'd love to know what you guys think down below because it's one of my favorites. And then coming in at the number 1 spot might be surprising to a lot of people, but I gave it to the Jedha Patrol Trooper. This one is truly one of my favorite Black Series figures of all time. It's got all the benefits of that 2020 Stormtrooper sculpt, but it's got that really big, bulky Stormtrooper look that I like because it's got the orange pauldron, it's got the big blaster, and it's got the really cool backpack. Worst case scenario, you don't like that big, bulky look, you can take the backpack and the pauldron off, and so you just have a standard Stormtrooper. And that's the thing I like with a lot of these Stormtroopers. If you don't like what it comes with, you can just kind of take it off because it pops right off. But I really do love that big bulky look, especially with the really big blaster too. I think it looks amazing, and I especially like taking the backpack off and you just kind of have like this Stormtrooper squad leader, which I really like as well. So overall, this has definitely got to be one of the most versatile Stormtroopers, and because of that, it's one of my favorites. It's also consistently one of the cheapest ones on the market. It's been going around for like as low as $15 at some point, and so I think since then it's definitely gone up in value a little bit, but for a long time it was pretty cheap, which definitely helped the appeal of it too. But overall, I think this has got to be the best Stormtrooper in the line in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. I know a lot of you guys will probably disagree, so let me know down in the comments what you guys think. But that is going to do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, go down and hit the like button, subscribe. Of course, let me know down in the comments what you guys think of my list. I'd love to know what you guys think and what you would change, but that is going to do it, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.